Hi guys, my name is Coach Tara Whitaker, and I'm glad that you could join us for today's topic. You know, your spirituality is an amazing gift. In fact, it's pretty much sacred. It's a significant part of who you are. And that might be tough for some of you guys to swallow that don't necessarily believe in God. And I completely understand that. Today I'm sharing with you my personal story of my spiritual journey. And I provide this information to you not to be preachy. I'm not trying to convert anybody, but with the intention to get you to rethink about the way you see and experience your spiritual side of your world. You know, maybe you've set this part of your life in a box in the back of your mind under other priorities, or maybe you're practicing your spiritual side on a daily basis, but you haven't really given much thought as to how you even arrived at this moment right now. I want you to reconnect with who you are and reevaluate your values and beliefs. I want you to tune in to your deep self and all the wisdom that you've come to know and have experienced in your daily walk in life. You know, as a little girl, I would sit in my room, honest to God, and I would actually recite the rosary, and just pray, just talk to God, and just like he was an old friend of mine. And I can remember sitting on the edge of my bed one night, asking God if he could keep my parents together after they had argued in front of me, and it had frightened me. You know, my parents had brought my sister and I up as Catholics, and we learned the basics of the religion just like many of you who were reared by your parents to be knowledgeable in your faith. But as I got older, I started asking lots of questions. I started, you know, thinking about, you know, what religion was and, you know, what I believed, what I didn't believe, and what the values were, and trying to make sense of, you know, things, I guess, logically. And, you know, people, you know, some people answered, but, you know, sometimes, you know, my parents, they didn't know what the answer was to my question, or, you know, maybe they wouldn't answer me, maybe they defer me to someone else to ask it at Sunday school or to a priest. You know, but, you know, maybe my questions, maybe some of them required existence of, you know, evidence of his existence. But no one could really truly prove that to me. And by the time high school came, I was just really no longer interested in really learning about God or believing in God. I had no evidence to show otherwise. And, you know, so the book kind of closed on my Christian spirituality and my relationship with him. I began to study other religions and theological ideas. I began to hunt down my answers by reading books. I read books from Nietzsche, you know, completely denies the existence of God outright, and he even thinks himself to be a Superman. Um, and, you know, looked at, you know, Judaism and looked at Sufism and you know, just a whole bunch of different types of religions. But by the time my research was over, I felt utterly overwhelmed with knowledge, you know, like I had a lot of knowledge, but still couldn't decide the best course of action for myself. And so I thought, you know, the best thing that I can do for myself right now is just not, let's just give it a rest. Maybe this is a topic that I'm not supposed to know right now, and I'm just going to like give it a rest. And I'm not going to think about God. I'm not going to think about my spirituality. I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm just going to, you know, wait until I have more proof, or B, I've got more knowledge, or C, I've gone through some sort of experience that has catapulted me into a specific direction. But at that particular time, I just made up my mind to not make up my mind. And I became agnostic. I didn't want to flat out say that there wasn't a God. I thought that was kind of haughty. But I didn't want to say that there was a God because I didn't have any proof of it, you know? And what am I doing all this work for if that's, you know, That's not even real. So I became agnostic and decided to live my life in darkness for approximately 10 years, almost, well, a full decade. I never truly understood how far away I had run from God until the moment that I turned back around to seek Him out. I never thought that my lack of spirituality would really affect my life. What believing in God, what does that really have to do with anything? I mean, it's like the age-old debate, who really cares at this point? You know, I didn't understand that it would affect choices that I was making along the way. My belief to not believe was going to affect me. And 10 years later, when I was just getting engaged and in the beginning stages of planning my wedding, I mean, I couldn't even figure out where I wanted to get married. It took me 3 years, 3 whole years to figure out where I wanted to get married. One, my husband, he's not baptized, he's not a believer. And I certainly didn't want to make him go through some sort of religious premarital course like pre-Kana for, Catholic weddings. I didn't want to do anything that would be considered disrespectful to his beliefs or overstep my boundaries as his wife. But I felt like I had to reconnect with my spiritual side again to find out what I truly believed so that we could start planning our lives appropriately. And during this time, I was going through a tremendously tough time in my life. Oh my God, it was so difficult. And my sister, my little sister, God bless her, she was losing her eyesight at this time. And that was extremely painful to watch. I experienced a roller coaster of emotion just going through that part of it with her. I mean, to watch her lose it so gradually, so slowly, but still, robbing her of her senses, it was really difficult to watch. And I felt helpless. I felt hopeless. I felt like there was nothing that I could do to help her, to make her better. There was nothing I could do. And she was going to start living a new way of life, and it was going to be painful and completely overwhelming and disorienting, to her more than myself, but to those of us that were in that situation. And at the same time, simultaneously, I found out that my mother was exhibiting signs of a mental illness. And I just felt like this tremendous pressure. I felt like my back was completely up against the wall, and that there was nothing that I could do that would really help her, that there was nothing that I could do. My hands were completely tied. I felt like I couldn't get her any help. I mean, she was unemployed, she doesn't have any insurance, and she's 200 miles away from me, and trying to solve issues that far away, was just, it didn't work. It didn't work. And I felt like every time I got a call, it was going to be bad news. There was going to be something wrong, and I would have to fix it. And I didn't know how to fix it because I was still very much at this time a young adult. I was like 28 years old. And so I didn't have any money. I don't have like a nest egg. I didn't feel like I was adequate enough of support to help my family. And my father had washed his hands clean of the situation. They had separated, and he had walked away from being any support to dealing with that particular situation. And I just felt so abandoned. And and this is the same time that I'm trying to experience joy as a bride. And I just felt like I was always stuck in chaos and that there was no joy, no peace in my life. And I was always fighting an uphill battle with someone else or for someone else, and not being able to really do much to help myself. And you know, for me, it came completely out of left field. If you would have told me that, um, that I would be, if you were to tell me 5 years ago that I would be, deeply connected with God and have some deep roots with Him, and know what my values and my belief system is, at that point in time, I would have said, you're a liar, because there's no way that I would go back to that. But in all of that chaos, for me, it came through a radio station. I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. It came through, one day I was in my car and I was driving on my way home and from work, and I turned on the radio station, and it was K-Love, which is a Christian, rock station, if you will. And, I just heard the tail part of someone's story, their tough line, their testimonial in life. I didn't even realize what I was listening to be honest with you, until, song came on. And I pulled over and I broke down and I cried. I cried and I cried, and I just, at that moment, I just realized that I had to turn my life around. I needed to feel that there was hope. I couldn't go one moment longer thinking that I didn't have any way out of my situation, that there wasn't something bigger than me, in this world, and that, someone that was going to be able to help me, and, just be able to get me through this. And I realized how much I had missed out on. And during that particular day, I had found they played, wonderful songs and whatnot, all of which I could relate to. But they had like a 30-day challenge. And the 30-day challenge was that for 30 days, listen only to Christian rock, and then let us know at the end of the 30 days whether or not it made a significant impact to your life, or whether or not it didn't. If it didn't, it didn't, and go back to regular music. But for 30 days, just listen to this and give us your input. Let us know what it is that you liked. Let us know what it is that you didn't like, just your journey. And I took that 30-day challenge. You know, I was I was brought up, in high school. If you would have met me, and I'm sure there's some of you out there that are watching this, but if you would have met me, in high school, I was a skater-ish kind of a gal. I listened to pretty hardcore music, Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Tool. Tool's my favorite, Perfect Circle, and I still listen to all that stuff. But, music-wise, I didn't necessarily surround myself through with super positive influences. And a lot of my thinking at the time was pretty negative up until that point. And I had a lot of work to do. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go, and we're gonna see what happens. And if it's stupid, it's stupid. I'm just gonna do it. And I remember listening to songs, and I thought that they were too churchy, and I could feel myself kind of cringe, or on the inside, just because it felt like part of my part of my flesh was kind of crawling, if you will. It was like kind of dying to yourself, I guess, to hear some of this stuff. But you know after the shock wore off and I was used to hearing this type of music, it really started to reshape my life. And I thought to myself, this is making me so much better to have this positive influence in my life, to hear other people's stories, to be able to, you know, reconnect with my spiritual side. It is doing a tremendous amount of good, uh, you know, to me and to my attitude, that I'm not giving this part of it up. And so with that, I slowly started to, really evolve in my walk, and it's completely changed, completely 180. And I'm not going to go into much more depth than that. Just that you never know what you're going to experience. Every day is different, and you never know what you're going to come across. And you know, just reconnect with that side. If that's not something that you're practicing, I invite you to reconnect with it, because I think you're going to be pleased. You got to give all things, kind of a chance, and everybody has to start somewhere. And we're not saying you have to be a complete expert when you get started. Nobody's saying that whatsoever. But you can get so much joy just by changing your perspective. And this has led me on my path to being a life coach. It's not necessarily where I started out being, but that's where it's kind of propelled me to be today. And I wouldn't take any of it back, any of it back, just because it has become who I am. And there's not one day, with God that is just as bad as the days that I experienced without Him, even on my worst day with Him. So that's what today's show is about. Take a moment, really think about it, meditate on it. If you're, surround yourself with positive things, and then that way you too can become positive. And that's it. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.